So, we just got the new experimental patch notes for the next milestone update, which is coming out fairly soon. So let's just... Oh, this art is awesome. Tons of debuglies, a trat. I love it. This art is so good. They're experimenting. Huge fan. We need more art for patch notes. This is great. More games should do this. Anyway, experimental balance changes for upcoming milestone number 2. Next one is finally on its way. Yeah, it's been last balance patch was in June. They wanted to let the meta settle a little bit, and get some data, as Greg is saying here, and let's see what they've done about it. So, balance changes. Changes we're making here may seem overly extreme or not far enough, depending on how you felt about PvP gameplay across previous updates. Helpful to outline the larger problems we're seeing and how we hope to address them. Okay, theory and intentions. Beastieball has very squishy matchups, which make it feel more fighting game-like. Yeah, very true. Different playstyles give them more rich and subtle interactions rather than being hard counters for each other. There are definitely some that are hard counters for each other, but hopefully this will address some of that. For all its strengths, this paradigm is often tested by teams that are optimized to the extreme in either offense or stall. Yes, very true. If you have a beastie with the best offensive stats in the game and pair it with the best defensive support and use the best, strongest attack, you should reasonably expect it to do high damage to all possible targets. If we added more defense to some beasties so that they could tank hits like that, those same beasties would become invulnerable to nearly everything else in the game. The margins we're designing around are just that tight. Very true. As a speedrunner, I get it. It's hard. Y'all can hear me, right? Yeah, okay, cool, you can. The result of this is that beasties who are good at creating fast one-turn kills tend to be more effective than others. The other beasties that tend to succeed are either ones who best support offense or those who are extremely tanky and stalling and able to survive extremes with less space for beasties in between. Not an absolute in all cases, and the range of win rates is still surprisingly narrow, but as the player base optimizes their team builds, this is the direction we've seen things slide. Yes, very much true. There have been a lot of... We've optimized stuff, quite a lot. And always, as per usual, Greg and Damien really have their finger on the pulse of things. Tried to address hyper-offense edge cases by looking at the most powerful options and adding complexities to their usage or reducing their power level when there's no other viable option. We'll continue to look into and address problems like this as they emerge, but as the game balance tightens, we've started to feel like the game needed a more fundamental internal tool to keep extreme offense in check. Okay, interesting. In an ideal version, hyper-offense should still feel like hyper-offense, but savvy players who anticipate what their opponent is going to do should have a way to call them out and gain a defensive advantage. I like that. To that end, one of our main focuses for this update went to buffing blocking. Oh my word. Okay. That... We are starting off with a bang. Let's hear this out. We've been careful not to take things too far. The balance of offensive and defensive power is critical to the game's fun and flavor, or just a little too optimal to focus on defense that high-level games would easily grind to a halt. So ultimately, the actual list of changes isn't terribly long, but we're excited to see what impact they'll have on the balance going forward. Okay. Greg and Damien were talking, or I think it was mostly... who was it? I think it was Damien saying in the speedrunning server, like, stuff's gonna impact the run. This is gonna impact the run, all right. Mechanics block. Block can now be stacked multiple times on the same beastie. Higher stacks of block reduce the damage of the next attack using math very similar to negative boosts, 2/3 to 1/2 to 2/5 to 1/3, etc. Okay, so that's a buff to, like, Mark, that's a buff to Hawkeye. Plays that, you know, were used somewhat, but weren't, like, extremely fantastic or anything. But all stacks of block clear off a beastie after they make any attack or tag out. Yeah, that makes sense. Good stuff. Additional plays being added to take advantage of this new mechanic as well. We'll get to those soon. Okay. That is very significant That's a very good damage reduction method in a game that we really needed damage reduction methods. Because like Riplash with Hyper Spike, Sylusk with Perfect Shot, Frufolks with tons of protector boosts, etc., etc. This is good stuff. I think if I'm anticipating what the next thing is going to be, right, by just seeing it, this is going to make net play more interesting. Like a lot of counterplay to hyper offense is just sit in the back row. This is going to mean you can counter hyper offense without sitting in the back row, which is kind of big because an entire thing of like my main PvP team has been not necessarily a fantastic PvP team, but it's like it relies very heavily on reads. So it's like my main PvP team is a team with 3 sideways moves on it. So basically it's around trying to force opponents into the back row or stay scared of the sideways move and be in the front row and take a really big hit. And so if this is like trying to keep 2 things in the front row for... Okay, let's just keep reading. I don't want to assume too much too early, but this is exciting. Double block, universal play. Effect defense, yep, only used at net if ally joins the block, target feels +2 blocked, so half damage instead of 2/3. That's really, really good. Yo, Waddle buff. Either way, block the universal defensive play. Yeah, okay, it's a universal play. It's not like shield, which is a play that every beastie has. It's a universal play. You can always use it. Now changes to double block if both your beasties are at the net and able to block. When a double block action is queued, if one of your beasties is disrupted such that they can't join in, such as they're made angry or tired, then the play downgrades to a regular block. Fantastic change. This means that there's no like 50-50 who's getting provoked here. That's a really good change because that's never a good feeling when it's like, okay, you have to guess right with who's blocking here in order to save the point. Here it's like, okay, you get the 2/3 no matter what. Because you have 2 beasties at the net. They can both try and block. That makes so much sense. This is a thing that happens in volleyball. You have 2 players at the net, both trying to block, and that makes it a lot harder for the attacker to, like, spike the ball. Great stuff. Okay. This is such a good change. I have a feeling this is gonna buff, like, stall, which is interesting because I feel like pure stall hasn't been like an issue. It's been more like control-y teams, like aggro control-y teams, but stall I feel like hasn't really been in the meta. Like since Doze was changed to exhaust, stall hasn't been around. So I'm interested to see how that'll affect like really heal heavy archetypes. I hope it won't be too much. It probably won't be too much because, again, the offense is just so powerful that it can usually punch through. But it'll be certainly, I think, something that the community wants to test over the next few days to couple weeks, just to make sure, hey, let's make sure that sitting at the front with really bulky beasties isn't overtuned. I don't think it will be. But either way, fantastic play. This makes every team type, including offense teams, better into offense teams. And I think that's been pretty necessary with just how ridiculous our optimization has got. Like, +3 hyper spikes. I still don't think you survive +3 hyper spikes from the front row with most beasties, but it's a lot more doable now. So that's great. Okay. On to the next thing. Sweaty now resets to 1 stack when the beastie is on the bench. Yes! I don't know why none of us spitballing ideas ever thought of this for a Heatwave nerf. Because Heatwave has been such an issue. Yeah, with the change from teen chant to chant, lost a major counterplay option. Proven to be difficult to play into. Yes, this is such a good change. This is such a good change. Considering we're now pushing for changes that will advantage bulkier beasties, yup, definitely will. Don't want to see sweaty and aggressive stall become a centralizing strategy at the high level. Good stuff. This change will slightly reduce its efficacy punishment without requiring players to build more anti-meta checks into their teams. Yeah, Heatwave has been like an issue. I think we were talking about it in either the speedrunning server or a different server or a different part of the Wishes server. I'm forgetting exactly where, but it was just like Heatwave is a problem, and I think Zonk and I were starting to wonder if Heatwave was a move that should even exist, and the conclusion was, yeah, it was, but it needed a significant change, and the change isn't to Heatwave, it's to Sweaty. They don't miss! They do not miss! They don't miss! They don't miss. This is very good. You can go to the bench and get some water, and you're like less exhausted. It makes sense. It makes sense. This is just going to be really great because I feel like, personally, the kind of teams I like to build sometimes run into issues later in the match when it's like, okay, well, all of my beasties have been drained by whatever control team I'm playing against, and now they're sweaty again. But now I can take them off the field. I don't know where I'm going with that sentence, but just Sweaty needed counterplay. This is like the best counterplay possible. It works with flavor. It's going to balance out Heatwave teams. I was building a Heatwave team like a couple days ago because I'm just like, you know, I really think this move is broken and I want to use it to just see how broken it feels. But this is gonna definitely soften it up a bit. Also interesting because it does also help the survivability of the Heatwave team itself, which is interesting and fun. Like, you can switch out your Scaldra when it's at 3 or 4 stacks, so it doesn't have to get drained, and it can come in and take another hit on 33 stamina because it's only taking 28 because its defenses are so high. This is great. Scaldra was already fantastic, obviously, just for Heatwave stuff, but this is a great change. I don't think I have much more to say about it. I'm just excited to see how this plays out and how this makes Sweat more balanced. Rally. Fixed a bug which made it so that mind attacks had minus 33% power instead of minus 25%. I thought that was intended. Okay. I didn't realize that wasn't intended. I entirely thought that was intended. I'm pretty sure it showed as minus 33%. Minus 25%. Yeah, okay. That makes mind, like, better into Rally, which I think is good. Because Rally kind of shut down mind entirely. Sometimes, like, if you don't have, like, the absolute strongest mind beasties or Ego Blast, you're just, like, having trouble punching through bulkier Rally teams or like Performer Circus, etc., etc. Testing stuff out before the previous balance patch and didn't properly disable it before letting it loose. Gotcha. Okay. They have so much to manage. I'm glad that we have a community who is letting things know. I don't know if this was a bug or just like an oversight and they had been testing out the 33% power. Have they said anything about that in the Discord? Let me know. Either way. Okay. Traits. New. Roaring. Feels one noisy when they attack. Given to Maraptor in place of Clemmer. You know, this does mean that Noise Art is now probably the only Clemmer option. but I think this was necessary. Maraptor with Assess and Tactical Pass and Trait Dance was just entirely too much. And yeah. Having a new trait that has sort of the same flavor is great. I like this. It's interesting. It's like you can Echo Strike or use some other defensive move or Relaxed Hit. Relaxed Hit. Gain plus 20 stamina and feel noisy? This is really interesting. Suddenly we have like a defensive Clamor option, because Noizard was always kind of like a more offensive Clamor. Well, it wasn't doing the offense, but it enables the offense. This is interesting because it can enable defense in a really cool way. I don't think that stalling with Maraptor will necessarily be that good because its defensive stats are still not fantastic, but I like that. Yeah, we gave them Clamor for thematic reasons long before the game came out, but that trait's centralizing power has always since complicated the balance of this beastie and by proxy Magpike. Yes, true. The problem with nerfing Maraptor is you have to nerf Magpike as well. From the data we have, Maraptor wound up underperforming unless they were using a Trait Dance and Clamor combo. Yup, okay, in which case they were vastly overperforming and disruptive. True. Couldn't find a way to manage the mix of these, so we're giving Maraptor an all-new trait, but not entirely out of left field, and focusing on giving them and Magpike a much-needed glow-up. Yes! Yes, I am excited to see what the changes are. This is fantastic. Huge fan. This is just really interesting because you can give yourself noisy every turn without clicking whistle. It's like Shanty. It's kind of like Shanty. That's so fun and interesting, and I'm really excited to see what the scene does with this. I'm excited to try stuff with this. I don't know if I'm going to do anything good or useful with it, but I'm sure someone will. And that's super fun. I'm assuming it's going to get a significant defense increase that we'll see later. Let's find out. Anyway, Tangled. Loses 10 stamina when they move or shift. Given to Leobro, Miracle Play is now Recesse's trait. Okay. That makes Leobro kind of sad. I hope it gets something. But Smooth. Brosliden. Restores 25 stamina when they move or shift. Holy shit. What? Okay. Brosliden is now a defensive beastie. Like, it can still do offense, but what? This is crazy. It's really in flavor. It gives Brosliden like a movement trait, which is good because its whole flavor is like, oh yeah, it slides around. We'll see if its defenses get buffed, because that's a whole thing. Like, Brosliden has kind of been underperforming in the meta because its defenses aren't really good enough for it to stand up to attacks. I'm interested to see. And this is my speedrunner speaking. I'm interested to see if this will affect anything at all in the speedrun, or if this will affect anything at all. I guess we don't ever really fight Valerie, so it doesn't matter that much. But Miracle, if Styles loses Miracle Play, it'll make that fight a little slower. So I'm a little sad if that's the case. I hope Styles still has Miracle Play because it feels in flavor for Valerie. Anyway, PvP reasons. I think we can't really talk about this without also talking about the next change. Captain, when they volley at the net, shifts ally to the net. This is a huge change. Captain Beasties have overperformed in every event since the game's release. True. Wanted to find ways to let it exist at its previous power level, but in practice it proved to be a deadly multiplier on any scary offensive beastie and the most common element in every overpowered tool that surfaced. Yup. With every Riplash, with every... like Ilias in olden days, with everything, it's Beetleback, it's Bandercraft, it's Tord Anchor. With every Circus, it's Tord Anchor. But the interesting thing is those Captain Beasties all have really good bulk. So now they have to sit in the front row. How do they do it? How do they do it? They have to go to the front row. It gives It gives Tordanker and Bandicraft, which like using Dump, which have Dump, but kind of have trouble using it, it gives them a reason to use that. Like, Tordanker is going to run Steel Dump now, and it's going to be like an actual setter dump. Like in volleyball, like they talked about. The setter is going to use a setter dump from the net. It's not like it has to... They're too good. They're too good. This is a team of two people listening to community voices. How do bigger games not do this? Yeah. Hope this tweak will keep the traits gameplay interesting and powerful while also requiring more intentional team building to take advantage of. Yeah, true. Captain BCs are already quite bulky. Yep. So it works to encourage them to play more with the net and enable double blocks. Oh, fun. Yeah, works really well with double blocks. I hadn't even thought about that. Yeah, you get your second beasties, you get your bulky beasties to the net. Maybe take an extra turn or two. Then get your other beastie, your more offensive one, to the net, and now you can double block. They're too good. So yeah, Smooth is not going to be quite as ridiculous with a captain change, which I think is good, because if Smooth was with captain here, that would be crazy. It's interesting. It gives more BCs a reason to run forward pass, which I think is fun. Forward pass is always a move that's felt kind of redundant because it's like just run a captain. But I think more beasties will find time to slot it into their moveset now that captains aren't going to be as ubiquitous. I do not think this is killing captain. I think captain is still going to be a significant issue. It's just like the action economy is harder. And that's been the biggest thing with it. It's because you're clicking captain set. You're clicking captain faith, confident pass, tactical pass, volley moves that boost the beastie next to them, and that's just been it's immediate +2 in one action. This is, you can get immediate +2 in one action, but you have to set it up, and that's, I think, really good. I also don't think any of the captains have a move that moves them up like on defense, so they'd have to just take the defensive action to move up, which I think is good. It means like none of them have stare down or pump up or anything. Actually, Beetleback might. All right, now I'm suddenly glad Beetleback no longer has roll reverse. Anyway, wait, does it have roll reverse? Does that one still have roll reverse? I'm forgetting what lost it. I think it was Beetle. Anyway, good stuff. That change makes Smooth a lot less scary as a change. I still think Smooth is going to be very good, but it's like, Bro doesn't have net rush. It does have pump up. So this makes pump up Bro, which I think is kind of like one of the big things in its flavor. This makes pump up Bro better just because it can take a hit if it restores. Yeah, Beetle lost it. Okay. It can take a hit if it restores the 25 stamina most of the time. It still doesn't have great defenses yet. We might get to that later. But yeah, this is super fun. I'm glad Leobro and Burst Lighting got a second trait, because I had been feeling for a while like Miracle Play was always just sort of there. It wasn't something Bro really relied on. Like, you run it, the only way it really helps is with like Hyper Spike, or if you want to like double provoke Free Ball or something. This gives Bro some much needed like longevity on the field if you want to run a bulkier set, which I think it can do really well because it has so many good supportive volleys. Like, it has quick set, it has confident pass, it has normal set. I think I'm forgetting all the rest, but it's like this thing always had a lot of great support plays. It has trait dance. Ooh, trait dance with quick set. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's super interesting. Mental note for that one. And now suddenly it has the tools to be a more supportive beastie, which I think is awesome. Okay. Big fan of that. Next up, Mischief. Can use support plays while holding the ball. Oh, man. Okay. I mean, I'm not... I guess Trat could have used that. I'm not sure Garud needed that. That's gonna be an interesting one. That's really... Oh, well, the 5 Trat speedrun just got even more fun. Anyway, while holding the ball, that's... Okay. Nettle Tool off Garud is gonna be terrifying. Nettle Spitball gonna be terrifying. Nettle Provoke Spitball. I don't care what Garud is doing with this. Garud is doing some shit with this. Trat has some fun stuff like Trait Dance Echo Strike. I think I've been using this and loving it in Draft League. Trait Dance Echo Strike no longer needs to use it like on defense. So like I could use a defensive play with Trat or Shloom and just like Trait Dance and Echo Strike while holding the ball. That's kind of crazy. Like suddenly you have Ancient. Good luck. Regardless of which beastie you hit. That's super fun. Yo, Trat can build. Trat can build while it has the ball. That's like, you can build and drain yourself and... No, never mind. Don't do that. But either way, still, like, that's a real interesting change. I think Trat is going to love this. It can clear field now and heal up the team while it has the ball. It can whistle while it has the ball, so you can just set up whistle loops with Trat attacking if you want to keep clicking like Grinder or Reach Shot, which I think is super fun. Trat's suddenly going to be a really good stall beastie. Like, it was already a decent one, but that's actually going to like really improve it in terms of doing stall things, just because suddenly it can still do its supporting stuff while also clicking Grinder, while also taking the hit for the team. Neither of them have Relentless, so it's not going to be like Exhaust into Relentless. That would be pretty wild. But yo, wait, hold on. Trat can Trait Dance like Miracle Play off of Brosliden, then Exhaust, then Free Ball. That's funny. Anyway. Cleanup resets all field effects and boosts. This has been this was like a widely suggested one. I think this is a great change. Cleanup was always like super niche. It's good now. Like, this is like Spreco suddenly has like a place in the meta because it can torch pass, patience, and clear field at the same time. That's crazy. That's fun stuff. Yeah, I'm glad to see this change. Another good nerf to like super boosty teams, because Patience and Cyclone, while, you know, very good on their own, Numbshot doesn't really count. No one runs it. Yeah, like this is good stuff. Hold on, Trait Dance Mischief into a Relentless Exhaust user. Trait Dance Mischief onto a Deep Breath user. Like, hold on. Suddenly you're just taking 30 less damage from anything. That's kind of wild. Does Garud get Deep Breath? Trat doesn't. That's interesting. Mental note for that one. Anyway, cleanup boost, very good. Moist. When this beastie is sweaty, they restore 10 stamina each turn instead. This is real interesting. Yeah, everyone ran Chill Mudsley. This is going to give Moist more of a niche. I like this. Mudsley likes supporting. It sometimes has a bit of trouble keeping itself alive over the beastie next to it, at least in terms of my use of it, because I use refresh a lot. I'm a big refresh fan. Yeah, this is fun. Wait, Trat can dispel itself. It can... Hold on. Trat can dispel itself, so you don't need a juggle slot. I don't think Garud gets dispel, but Trat can dispel itself. It doesn't need to run juggle. So it can dispel whichever of the two beasties has the ball. That's super cool. Oh, that's sick. Okay. Anyway, Moist Change. Good stuff. I like seeing Mudsley get, like, a trait to keep itself alive with. Because its defenses were always sort of worse than Scaldra's, and Scaldra ran Foggy all the time, so, like, obviously, Scaldra would just get itself sweaty and deal with it, but, like, this is interesting because they have such a similar stat line that I think Mudsley needed reasons to be used over Scaldra, and I think this is a good one. Neural Net. Mind attacks give an easy receive. That's significant. I have no idea what the implications of that are. I think that's great. I think Platypulse was kind of struggling a little bit. It's interesting because this is actually counterplay to something that I think the one thing that I think made Platypulse like a threat in the meta, which was Echo Strike Neural Net, because suddenly you can't redirect the Echo Strike, the mind attack, away from the beastie with really awful mind defense who now has Neural Net. This is fun. I don't think this really affects the speedrun like at all. Like the only place this shows up is on Celia, and we never use a mind attack against Celia, so it's like not an issue for that regard, which I think is good. But yeah, for PvP, I mean, Platypulse appreciates some new tools. It's not like... It struggled at being kind of offensive, I think, sometimes, because like if it's against a mind team, it can't really boost itself in the same way. Like it has to volley and then telekinesis. Here it's like the other beastie can suddenly be dedicated into supporting it. And I think that's great on a beastie that looks like it has a good offensive stat. Like it has 99 base mind power, which means 104 uninvested, 134 invested. Very good stat. And now suddenly it can be supported more easily against mind teams, and it does a better job of countering mind teams. Study. When hit with a body spirit or mind attack, +2. Study buff. Let's go. Big fan. I'm a big fan of seeing Study get a buff. I was always of the opinion that like it kind of did a little bit. This one implicates the speedrun a little bit because it's going to be... I don't think it really matters very much because we usually deal with Grendel on like 2 separate points. But I think this is a great change for PvP because it always felt like Debugly would take like 60 from an attack. And then when it's at +1, now it's taking 40. See the issue? That like the addition there, it adds to 100. Now it's taking 60 and then it takes 30, which I think is far better. Far more good as a trait. I've always been feeling that Study was like very underwhelming as a Debugly trait, and it's like it could get a new trait in order to actually do something, but this makes Study better, which I think is good because I don't want this trait removed. I would still be interested in seeing Debugly get a new trait, but also I feel like if it got something that was like too offensive, it would be a massive threat because it has like the second highest mind attack in the game. Anyway, fun change. Love to see it. Tractor Beam, finally. Here we go. Nearest non-wiped opponent is beamed on turn start, preventing use of tag. Can't change their tractor beam target mid-turn. Yeah, this is the change everyone wanted. Stops frustrating strategies around using quick tag or mid-turn movement to unexpectedly cancel out the opponent's defensive action. When we first found these interactions, we thought they were a fun and deep consequence of the game mechanics, which they are, but once they started seeing broader adoption and usage, the novelty wore off, and we had to contend with how unfun they are to actually play against. Yep. I was a little shocked to see this not touched the last patch. I am glad to see it touched here. Albrax is no longer going to be quite as ridiculous. Good stuff. Not much more to say here. Watchtower. New effect. Attacks that a target and adjacent ally go to this beastie instead and do 1.2 times damage. Great PvP change, great speedrun change as well, because suddenly grinding in Recruit 'em all is easier. Anyway, proven to be difficult to balance around and create extremely swingy matchups. Yep, in particular, it's great at enabling frail offensive beasties like Survey, Silex, and Squimmage. Who was using Squimmage next to Watchtower? Why is Frufolks not here? And we want to see that continue, but it worked a little too well for too many matchups. We're pairing this change with some other buffs and stat changes such that we hope to see struggling beasties like Fetch'em. Fetch'em is not struggling. Greg, Damien, Fetch'em is not struggling that much. Perform better. Change also makes your targeting choices into Watchtower more relevant, creating more interesting counterplay that isn't purely dependent on team building choices. Very true. You can attack the Watchtower directly in case they switch out to something else, but if the Watchtower stays in, they're taking less damage than if they redirected. This was good. I've always sort of wondered about an attack that, like, gets more damage if it's redirected. This is now every attack gets more damage if it's redirected to the Watchtower, which is, I think, fantastic stuff. Oh, chat says you do hard harden and pass into energized with mage and just Squimmage. Okay. And just murder. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, glad to see this nerfed. Demolipede was, like, really overbearing, especially next to Silesk, but really next to anything at all. Fetch'em might still need a little something, because its mind defense is now going to be even more of a problem. But anyway. Okay. Plays. New plays. Wall defense. Only used at net. Target feels +2 blocked minus stamina to stealth. So it's like a interesting front row Hawkeye. Bandicraft Armantis, Bro, Aposser, Delusia, fun. Yamith, fun. Surveys? Yeah, I mean, I guess flavor-wise that does make sense because they are the spiker. They are gonna have to also do the blocking. That's good. That's a nice little surveys buff, actually. Suddenly it has a little more survivability if you want it to and not just click Inspiring Defense. Fun. I like this. New blocking plays now that block stacks. I like it. Menace. Target feels +2 blocked. Defensive play. Okay, so it's like Hawkeye, but just objectively better. Via level up Hydrolm and Crawlerk. Feel too angry, by the way. So it's kind of like Shield, which I think is good. Via friendship, Mystic, Tordanker, Boldler, Yamith. I like Yamith getting plays. Tordanker getting this. I love that flavor-wise. That's going to be an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, all of these like having it. And I like that it's on a lot of beasties that could then be more offensive with it. I mean, a lot of these like running supportive plays as well, but they're having to sort of sacrifice that in exchange for potentially running something more offensive. Thrash. Spirit attack 80 power. Power 1.5 hit the user jazz. Via level up. Fetch'em! Yes! Fetch buff, fetch buff, fetch buff. Oh yeah, that is a crawler upscale. You do make a good point, Phoenix. Just like crawler has survivability suddenly. All of these I think like having it because they have some defensive stat that could use a little help. Now that I think about it, Yamith maybe not, but okay. No change to armored, by the way. So Boldler's armored is still the same, which I think is I do feel like armored kind of needed a little something because it's kind of irrelevant if there's like dread on the field or if there's traps, suddenly it's gone. And I always think that's a bit sad. So I would be interested to see Armored still changed. I might F8 that and be like, hey, give it a little something. But I guess a lot of the matchups where Armored really matters aren't the ones where traps are a thing all that much. I guess like Trapper support Illigus is kind of an issue, but Armored doesn't matter as much in like those stally dread matchups. Either way, Thrash. Plus 1.5 at the user is jazzed. Skull Copy gets it. Ymith gets it. Does Ymith get Dig? Fetch'em really likes this. I am so glad Fetch'em has a play that finally takes advantage of its ability to just either run Fetch or like dig Watchtower. So it can finally be like the offensive Watchtower it wants to be and do well at that. Yeah, Skull Copy and Ymith. I don't think Skull Copy gets Dig or any way to jazz itself, so like that's fine. Not gonna see much of a change in its usage there. Maybe, I mean, it'll probably run this as a spirit attack and just have different supports now. I think it's good. I think it needed like that good forward spirit attack because currently it only had kind of like cut shot and that was all it did. Don't think Ymith has any self-jazzed? Okay. That's probably for the best considering that thing has really good spirit attack actually. I'm a fan of all of these getting a new spirit attacking tool, and I'm a fan of not anything else getting a good spirit attacking tool that didn't need it. Mimic, question attack, question power, changes to the ally's first attack power times 1 point. Huh. Squimmage and Diablo get it. Oh god. Energized. Energized just got crazy if that works how I think that works. Bird is breaking it right now. It's awesome. Good to see. Yeah, this is a wild move. Big fan of Squimmage getting more stuff that like does that mimicry. Yeah. Big fan. This is good. I'm scared. I think this is ridiculous. I think that the 1.2 times power is going to be crazy. And probably a little too much. With Watchtower nerf, does Demolipede need a new trait? I mean, I've always been wondering about what Demolipede could get as a new trait, like a second more offensive one. But I do think, like, I'd be fine if it only has Watchtower. That's chill. Anyway, this looks crazy. People are already breaking it, apparently. Good stuff, community. This seems ridiculous. It is obviously giving up a move slot, but like the amount of damage you could output with a Squimmage from this using Energized or Perfect Shot or Hyperspike or Contest or any of the others, that's just wild. Fallback. Defense, +1 defense to front row active team, shift team to back row. We never let any beasties learn if I level up. That changes today. Beetleback gets it. Skull Copy gets it. Very fun. Via Friendship, Zephyr, Survey, Silusk, Beelb, Gremler, Blitzwhip, Beelb. Yo, Energized. The amount of Energized upscale is crazy. Gremler gets it via Friendship. Yeah, this is all the beasties that had it already, I think. Okay. Interesting stuff. I mean, you're still leaving yourself vulnerable to sideways moves if there's one on the team, but I think you need this. Okay. Chat, help me out here. Does this boost only beasties that are in the front row, or does it require beasties to be in the front row? Does it require both to be in the front row? My impression is it shifts the team to the back row regardless of where they were initially, and it gives them a boost if they were in the front row when the move was used. That's something to test. I'm assuming it's the latter because it seems like a really useless play if it requires both of them to be in the front, but it seems like a great play for some of these frail attackers. Like, oh, suddenly they can get to the back and suddenly their defenses are basically doubled. That's good stuff. I like that. Whoosh. Support, shift self to net +1 action. Replaces Tailwind internally. Zephyr. Oh god. Oh shit. I mean, Air Blast is gonna... Like, Air Blast was never bad. I guess this gives it something to, like, allow it to still be a thing next to Tort Anchor with the Captain nerf. But like +1 action, that's scary. I don't know, that's scary. Bro Slide getting it, I'm a fan of that. The nice thing is wait, hold on. It can't be used infinitely. Like Bro could maybe get like a 50 damage shield here, but at that point just run Deep Breath if it gets it. Charlie gets it, Masquery gets it. Yeah, I'm a fan of those. I'm guess, does Marifly also get it? Okay. Bro didn't have Tailwind before, did it? I'm a fan of Bro getting more movement options, especially to support Smooth. That's good stuff. Skull Copy gets it. That's interesting. I'm a little scared of that. For Albrax reasons. Blitzwhip makes sense. Delusia makes sense. Big fit. Yo, Thunder Delusia upscale. Yo, Thunder Delusia upscale. It doesn't have to run updraft anymore. Let's go. Let's go. Thunder Delusia is so back. I'm so happy. Yes, I know everyone else will just run Hyper Spike. I don't care. You don't have to be at the net to use fallback. Only beasties got to move back, get the buff. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought it was. That's good. Body attack. Hyper Spike. Body attack 125 power, charges each turn on field. Interesting. Up to 3, feel 3 tired. Can now be used anywhere. Huh. Charge up meter to delay how often is. An entire new mechanic just for this play. Yeah. Okay. Been a little too big of a number that's too easy to get the full impact of a little too often. Yep. Want plays this powerful to exist, but adds a new layer of cooldown to it that makes it fun to play around. So you can't just use it. Is this you can't use it on counterserve? Like you have to have it ready to use? That's the impression I'm getting. I do like this. I think this is good. It means that those like ridiculous Hyper Spike counterserves like Riplash Beetleback are now nerfed more than they were. But it isn't only net now, which is interesting. I don't know. This seems good. This seems good. I think I understand the charge correctly. If someone can explain that to me, that would be great. Perfect Shot. 125 power requires 2 actions. Power nerfed if user has any feelings. Good stuff. Blocking Perfect Shot is now viable. If the Sylusk shields, it's nerfed. I'm a fan. This is good. This is a good change. I think that's appropriate because now like you can mark it, you can Hawkeye it, just like Mischief Provoke it. I don't know. Good stuff. Exert. 60 power, feel too tough and too sweaty. Last patch we debuted Exert with the self-sweaty effect. Everyone complained about it. We changed it to a stamina cost instead, and then nobody used it. So you know what? I think we were right. We're putting the sweaty back on it. Oh dear. We will see how that goes. That's fair. No one really used Exert except on like maybe Supalero. Nerve Strike nerfed to 50 from 55. Good stuff. Yeah, so Exert still buffs Grit, so it's going to be interesting on those beasties which have Exert and Grit. Does Dugout get Exert? If Dugout gets Exert, I'm a little concerned. If Dugout doesn't get Exert, I'm not concerned. Self-activating Grit is, I think, something that they need to do more. So I'm, you know, the Grit guys are Dillo and Possum. Okay, cool. Yeah. I'd be interested to see Grizzada get this as well, I'm not gonna lie. I want Grizzada to get this play. I want the tough upsetting comment. Look, I just want the tough upsetting comment. Come on. I want upsetting comment to be a move. Anyway, I'm interested to see how this plays out. Yeah, I think we all really reacted to it pretty strongly when it was first introduced. We'll see how this goes. Anyway, Nerf Strike Nerf, Provoke. Oh my word. Oh, Grizzada also has Exert. Okay, cool. Target feels too angry, nerfs self-defense. We're a little scared of this one, but we want to try it out. Has simply been one of the absolute most centralizing plays in the game, possibly before it even came out. The utility of Angry to prevent all ranges of offensive and defensive strategies makes it very valuable, and that may not be a problem to be solved. I don't really think it is, but even so, we want to see what might happen if the play was a little harder to click. Yes, I think this is what Experimental Branch is for. I don't know if this one's gonna stick. I really don't know if this one's gonna stick. But I think it's an interesting thought experiment. Oh yeah, true, that was before Grit was nerfed. You're not wrong, Phoenix. So yeah, Grit being nerfed to 120 does make it a little more manageable. Provoke definitely needs a cost. Sky Blue, you don't PvP. You don't understand the value of this thing. A little harder to click. I'm interested to see how this goes. I'm a little scared. Just because of how important Provoke is just for disruption on so many teams. We'll see. I'm scared. We'll see. Yeah, the defense drops make you susceptible to offense, so they kill you anyway without the boost you're preventing. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. It's like suddenly Provoke isn't a tool at disabling offense anymore. And I think that's not great. And I will not be surprised for this one to go away. And I mean, they won't be either. Trying things out. We'll see. Call out. Buffed. +1 body and spirit to ally, +2 mind to ally. Fun buff. I hope that doesn't apply separately to Protean Squimmage, because if it does, that's scary. Hunker +2 body defense feels one nervous. Okay. I'm a fan of these getting buffs. I think defense boosting moves were kind of eh. I still think they're kind of F because, again, Jazz goes through them. So we'll see how that goes. I'm a fan of them getting things, though. This might be interesting for some speedrunning stuff here and there. We'll see. Beasties. Albrax's body defense down. Good change. No comments there. This thing was too bulky. 118 in 2 defenses and 80 in another was just ridiculous for a beastie that could basically use, like, Arena Trap. Like, I hate to draw Pokemon comparisons because this game is nothing like Pokemon, but, like, Dugtrio has no defense. We won't talk about Shadow Tag. That ability's broken in singles. Bandicraft. Spirit power down, spirit defense up. Yeah, you know what? With it, with the Captain nerf, I think that's fair. Blitzwift. Tweak level up plays learn to be higher value. Yeah, they mentioned that. Just like taking Net Rush off of it, because why would it use Net Rush when it has Jet? Conjar has Chant. Big fan of more chant users. Let's go. More things need chant. It's such an important move, I think. And I would love to see later in this beasties that aren't on like spirit attackers getting chant. We'll see. Daredillo, my defense up. I'm a fan of that. That's a little scary for the speedrun, but now that I think about it, we don't use any mind attacking moves, so it's like probably fine. Demolipede's body defense up with the Watchtower nerf. I think that's actually good. I think I think it having body defense makes sense flavor-wise. I think it also should really specialize in a couple types. It's not getting a spirit, like it still has that glaring weakness to spirit, like really strong spirit moves, which I think is good. I'm a little concerned that it's still going to be overbearing with that much defense, but we'll see. Fetch'em. Attacking stats buffed. Big fan. Mind power down. Whatever. Mind defense. Fetch'em is usable. Let's go. As an offensive beastie. Yeah, this one's big. This is a beastie. Yeah, I guess it had kind of been underperforming. Like Watchtower, it was because Watchtower was so broken that it was seeing any use at all. So you know what? With a Watchtower nerf, I think that's probably about right, because if it's taking 1.2 times damage, this is about a 1.2 times buff to its mind defense. That makes perfect sense. Big fan. Grisada gets chant, more spirit. Okay. Hydrolm, more body defense. Yeah, sure. I enjoy that. A little scary for gene reasons and speedruns. Magpike, spirit defense up, mind defense up. I'm a fan of this thing getting more spirit defense. I always found it a little weird that both of its defenses were too low. Gets chant! Yes! Here we go. More chant users. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, defense is up. I think that's good stuff. Magpike is going to have much less of a hard time getting through stuff. No more Raptor buffs, which I think is fine, probably. Mudsley. 80 body defense from 86. That's a nerf I'm not sure it needed, but it was like really good at defense, and it's only going to get better with the change to moist here, so we'll see. Apostle. Ooh, is this in line with the exert change? Body power up, spirit power down by 5 each. I think that's probably good. I think it didn't really run body that much, and it ran a whole lot of spirit between like challenge competitive and like exert grit obviously getting added back. So yeah, I'm a fan of that. Platena, Platypulse, Platian get ricochet. Interesting. And set alongside the neural net buff, I think is super interesting. I'm interested. Platypulse body defense up. That's probably warranted. Yeah, it died to body moves. Having it be less vulnerable to especially snipe, because I think a big issue with Platypulse was the issue that it's supposed to be a counter to mine teams, and if a good mine team runs snipe, which they usually do, Platy is suddenly irrelevant because it just dies. So I think that's good. Plumask gets chant. Riplash loses spirit defense. Thank you. I am still a little scared of its really high mind defense, but this is a good help. Gullet and Skiprig get chant. Tortanker gets chant. Yeah, that's like one of the big ones. Like this one was deserved for flavor. Removed Frazzle and Numbshot. Interesting. Yeah, I mean no one ever used Numbshot on it, so like that's fine. Frazzle, that's fine, I guess. Trat gets tough front. Oh, fun. Oh, it can tough run after receiving an attack now. That's interesting. I like not having to run shield on it. Mischief tough front, I think, is also great. And it makes sense. The little guy, which is just down there somewhere, I think. No, I'm not looking at OBS right now. They just go in the can. They just go in the can. And they're tough now. It makes so much sense. Varkabond. Huge defense buffs. Oh my word. Plus 10 to spirit defense and mind defense. I'm excited about that. I love Varkabond. I always felt like it wasn't quite bulky enough. I'm a little scared that may be a bit much. But at the same time, I am excited to use this thing. I love this beastie so much. I'm so glad it's getting love. And yeah, it really deserved these. It really deserved some defense buffs, I think. It's always been a little underwhelming offensively as of late, especially since the dump change. So I'm glad to see it get some more longevity in return. Maraptor, body power up again. Body defense up. Yeah, spirit defense up. Makes sense now that it doesn't have clamor anymore. It needs more boosts, especially to take advantage of roaring. And it gets chant. Ooh. Did Magpike also get chant? Yes, Magpike also got chant. Okay. Yeah, you know, now that it's not clamor, this is fine. It does need those defensive stats. Yep. Glad to see this. Glad to see it leaning more into those offenses, especially the body power. I felt like it... I mean, Spike Maraptor was still pretty good, but this will give it, like it can now hit 128, which is like a very good offensive stat, honestly. I'm excited to see how that plays out now that it doesn't have clamor anymore and isn't a ridiculous menace. Anyway, that's the end of the balance changes. Let's just look over the other ones real quick. A lot of these don't really affect the speedrun much at all, which I'm glad to see. Like, I haven't seen, like, any changes to Dominic's team so far, which is good. We'll see if that changes in the actual patch. But the block change is the one I'm scared of. That could have very major implications. It could also be great because suddenly we're more survivable and we don't need to shield as much anymore. But anyway, other fixes: more strict memory management of models to reduce memory usage. Good stuff, like reduce the likelihood of random crashes. Yeah, I did feel like the game suddenly slowed down sometimes after being open a while. So I'm glad to see the memory management be more strict. I don't pretend to understand the full details behind that, but having it use less memory is good. Some changes to have how the first serve is determined in private lives to prevent desyncs. Huh. I don't know quite what that means, but preventing desyncs is always a good thing. Characters you're playing a story match against don't fade away when the camera zooms in before the game. Makes sense. Starter boosties were meant to have a unique recruit event in their memories, but this event wasn't being recorded until now. Good stuff. Fixed issues with Tower Tourney state, preventing research of extinct beasties. Okay. Yeah, when you were mid Tower Tourney and paused it, you couldn't research an extinct, I think is what that's saying. Right. Fixed an issue that removed 100 plus difficulty selection from the Tower Tourney. Good stuff. Fix for rounding errors on money displayed in different menus. Yep, good stuff. I had noticed that one. Fix for rounding errors on coach percentage, eliminating the number after the decimal. Yep, thank you. Fix for multiple copies of Riley appearing in the crowd of PvP or replay games in some circumstances. Adding new racing behavior for Bradillo and Tardillo on the overworld. Yes, more personality! I'm a huge fan. I hope we get a whole lot more of this with more beasties. That's so fun. Changed fallback animation behavior for some beasties when moving, but not in their move pose to use some tweens. I assume that means in between frames. So I guess more animation stuff. Increased the length of time music is paused after Ziggy. Makes sense. Adjusted. Yep, here we go. Strange teleporting behavior. This is affecting the speedrun very slightly. We are going to have to actually go walk up to the zip station on the domain park screen now in order to activate it. But that's a good change for not having that zip station like available just by walking onto the very bottom of the screen, which I always thought was kind of weird. Fixed an issue in Chinese that prevented you from backing out of selling something. Good change. Broken texture triangle, which often appears off screen and screens with water. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I had noticed some like texture tearing or whatever you call it. Sometimes I think this means on the C, especially. I'll be glad to see that. Various small level layout tweaks. Don't know what that means. Little scared. Little bit scared that that's going to break some clips, but I hope they don't. Change some Bendiva mechanics with the track spray. They have mentioned this in the devlogs to create more recruitable variations and also not modify non-recruitable Bendivas. Very true. Fixed typos. Cool stuff. Anyway, stripped down version of the upcoming milestone. Full patch notes on new features will be revealed when the update is released. So yeah, as per usual, fantastic changes all around. Good stuff, Greg. Good stuff, Damien. Good stuff, everyone else who is working on this game, even though we don't get to see most of that yet. I am very excited to do more PvP. If you're watching this video and you don't know about Draft League, I will hopefully be running some of that real soon. If you do know about Draft League, we'll be re-tiering a whole bunch of stuff real soon, so let's figure that one out pretty soon. Anyway, yeah, PvP looking a lot healthier with all of this, I think. I still think there's going to be some stuff that's scary, and I'm sure we're going to find ways to break it in time, but I expect that, again, the next balance update is going to be, you know, like 3 months out. If I had to guess, I'd expect we see it in December, probably the next, like, balance patch. No idea, ask Greg, or don't. He's busy. But anyway, good stuff. Do I want to draft fight picks? Yeah, sure, let's do that after this. I'll need to do a whole lot of prep considering Captain has been nerfed. But anyway, thank you so much for watching if you're on YouTube or Twitch, and have a good time zone.